welcome to my kitchen. Today I'd like to feature a recipe that I developed in 2016, and it was pretty popular at the time, but a lot of people have given me requests to give them a tutorial on this. Rolling it out, I guess, can be a little bit tricky. So today I'd like to show you my wrap recipe and how to make it. So I have a wrap already mixed up here. It's sat for a couple minutes, it's got stiff, and it's ready to roll. I have another flour mix ready here, and I'm going to go ahead and add 4 tablespoons of water to this. 3, 4. I'm going to stir this quickly. And I'm going to set it back aside for a moment while I get my next flour ready for my next wrap. I'm using oat fiber. You can use coconut flour. You can use a mixture of sprouted rice and rye. Really, this wrap has endless possibilities. Glucomannan and psyllium. I like to keep a measuring spoon for each separate ingredient with it, and then I don't have to think and just keep reading the recipe or rechecking myself. I've just got the correct measuring spoon for each ingredient. And salt, a pinch of salt. So we've got the dry mixed up. I make several at a time this way, and I just keep them kind of going in steps, and that helps cut down on the time. So there's the flour waiting next time, and I'm going to go ahead and form the next one into a ball so it can set for a couple minutes while we roll this one out. I'm going to wash my hands because I have a little bit of dough on my hands, and when you have dough on your hands, and the other dough is going to want to stick. It's kind of an important tip to keep your hands dry and clean while you're working with this dough. So I have this wrap that is already on the skillet, and it should be about ready to turn. My skillet is actually not doing what it's supposed to be doing. I actually feel like my burner's not working. I'm going to pause the video and try to get my burner to work, and then I'll be right back. The heat can be kind of tricky. I use a dry skillet, which means there's no oil on it, but you want it hot enough that it will dry the wrap out, but not so hot that it's going to burn. And the time frame that it should dry should be about the same time frame that you can roll your next wrap out in. So I am going to go ahead and put saran wrap on top of this wrap. And I'm going to need 2 pieces because one is not really wide enough. The wrap will end up being about the size of a flour burrito, and the saran, one width of it is just not quite wide enough. I had a wider saran at one time that I liked. Right now I have this, so I fix it. You can tell this is starting to dry. The edges are starting to kind of come up, and it just kind of looks dry. I'm going to go ahead and flip this, I believe. Actually, it's still wanting to stick for a minute, so I'm not going to flip it. It should just peel right off when it's done. So let's go ahead and flatten this and start pressing it into a circular shape. Now what we're going to do is sometimes the saran kind of gets stretched or pushed into the creases of the dough. So I loosen one piece of the saran, lay it back on, flip it, and then I loosen the remaining piece of saran. I'm going to go ahead and continue rolling this into a roundish shape. And then what I do sometimes in order to straighten the edges is I'll pull the saran back off, and I'll just kind of bend over anything that is kind of rough looking or not round in the way I want it to be round. Kind of straighten the edges up there a little bit. And then I'll put the saran back down. And I will continue to roll around the edges. Also, if you have a really thin edge, this is a good thing to do. Now this is definitely dry over here. You can tell it's just kind of starting to get kind of stiffish, and yeah. And I turn my heat down a little bit because it looks now like it's too hot. It's really hard to get the right temperature on your stove, and once you have figured your stove out and you know the right temperature, you can just keep it out there, and that makes it nice. It needs to be hot enough to dry it out, but it should be still soft and pliable and not just like brittle and chewy, rubbery. So we're going to pull the top layer off, and we're going to go ahead and remove this wrap. The second side doesn't take long at all. And we're going to lay it here on the plate with the other wrap. I have another one here already. And you see how this one is kind of stiff. This one before is fairly pliable. As they lay here with the other warm wraps, they seem like they steam and become more pliable. So I just plopped the dough right into my hand. This is where it's really important that my hand was not wet or sticky. And then I just peel away the saran wrap. Get a hold of the wrap like this. It needs to go down in one try because it'll not do too well. It'll stick and do all kinds of funny things if it gets folded over on itself or anything. So we've got that one in the skillet, and while the one is in the skillet, I do the same process over. I put another one down. I mix the liquid into my flour that I have ready. Mix up my flour. And a pinch of salt. Now I don't remember if I mentioned this before or not, but I have switched from using just the regular psyllium husk to the psyllium husk powder, and I feel like that works much better for these. I feel like it makes them much more durable, a lot easier to handle. They don't fall apart as easy when you are trying to transfer them from the wrap to your hand to the skillet. I'm going to go ahead and mix these ingredients, set that aside. And I'm going to form this dough that's been setting for a moment into a ball. Now this is where you get your hands a bit sticky. I'm going to form it into a ball, set it back, and now this is when I need to wash my hands before I start handling this dough so that I don't have dough in my saran and the dough sticking to my hands. I'm going to remove it a little bit. So I'm going to wash. And I dry. because I don't want my hands wet either to handle the dough. So I'm going to add this piece of saran back to the top of this piece, and we are going to roll. We're going to kind of press it out first, and then I take my rolling pin kind of in a circular motion. Going to press this dough around in a circle. I'm going to loosen the top. Okay, this is trying to tear here a little bit, so I'm going to patch it, see what's going on. Okay, I have a little hole here I need to watch for. I'm actually going to put this back on. Okay, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to loosen the one that was in the bottom, that's just now the top. And I'm going to put this down. And I'm going to continue rolling this until it's a little bit thinner and still in a circular motion. This wrap here needs to be flipped. It's almost done. And this is more common, what you're going to see they look like when you flip them. You see all these little kind of bubbles, kind of dry looking. That's what you're going to see more. Okay. I am going to do a totally optional step and just straighten some of my rough corners. Now, I am going to go ahead and remove this because it looks like it's almost overdone. And you see how this side looks dry. This one's dry and wrinkly, and this one's kind of bubbly. Those are all good. And I'm going to remove the top wrap. Going to lay it aside. Going to turn this into my dry, clean hand. And I'm going to gently peel this back off. Okay. I am going to take this carefully, and it needs to be applied to the skillet in one try. So while that starts, we repeat again. But I think you have the idea. I'm not going to make you watch me make all of mine. So I will come back in a minute and show you how I package these though to store them. I have 3 here right now, and I'm going to try for a total of 8. So I have my 8 wraps made, and I'm going to show you the way I like to wrap them. I start by laying a piece of saran down, and I put a wrap onto that, and then I just bring the saran back over, add a wrap, back, and I continue doing this until I have all of them layered in. Alright, and then once I have done that, I flip the whole package and come over once again, and then instead of trying to maneuver the box, I just like to take a pair of scissors and that's done. So and then I just kind of wrap these edges under, and if I want to, I'll then slip this into a Ziploc bag, and there's the wraps ready to serve. So anytime I get ready, I'll just take the first layer of saran wrap, take it off, and keep going until they're gone. So there's a few ways that I like to use these wraps. These are a fuel pull if you're following Trim Healthy Mama. And you can just add beans, lettuce, salsa, you know, a few things for an E, if you want to use it in an E setting. I have a steak and peppers recipe, and I also have instructions on that for how to freeze them and thaw them out, so that you'd have a ready-made wrap. Another idea is to use my Fuel Pull chocolate peanut butter sauce, and you can put that on this and roll it up, and that is just really, really yummy. That would be a Fuel Pull for a snack right there. And I haven't tried this yet, but I'd like to try putting a banana into that chocolate peanut butter sauce, chopping up the banana, spreading it with peanut butter sauce, and then rolling it up and sticking it in the freezer. I have a feeling that that would be kind of yummy for an E. So there's lots of ways to use these. They're just so versatile, so flexible, so durable, and I hope you love them.